the way that they did it, BT, to me was more impressive than the actual win. And I could, we've talked about it a little bit earlier, but I could understand some people being frustrated that it took what it did to beat the crappy Cardinals. But still, what is the difference? How it, or what the result is? They get the win. So what's the difference? How it happened as far as the first half goes? I would be thrilled from what I saw with Daniel Jones, a performance that, look, if he can do this, he's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah. I think the only reason why, I don't want to say that the win is met with resistance, but there's several elements of it to process once you get past the win and how important it was. It's bigger picture, which sometimes makes us trip and fall all over ourselves, admittedly. Like, bigger picture, why? Because the Giants won a road playoff game a year ago? Yeah, that's where it's derived from. Some preseason expectations for some, sure. But in the grand scheme of this year, that means nothing. I mean, because think about the expectations that many of us had for the Giants a year ago. We didn't think they'd be very good at all. Now, I am more in the minority. I do not think they'll be a playoff team, and I had them winning yesterday's game anyway. I mean, I gave them 1-1 for sure.
Right.
I just, I think the answer is probably somewhere between, going nutty over this crazy comeback. Go for it. Be a fan. I'm certainly not telling you not to. But the truth is probably somewhere short of that as to who this team is.
Right, but how about the play of the quarterback specifically? Because he did it not just with his legs. Like, the only positive drive we saw this year was Jones on the opening drive against the Cowboys, and he was running it all over the place. And then you go back to last year where he ran the football, predominantly running the football in Minnesota, even similar with the Colts. This was not even arguably, this was the best half he's ever played in the NFL. That's got to be encouraging with the balance of some runs mixed in, but really throwing the football.
Yeah, and I think I saw somewhere this morning it's the biggest second-half comeback in Giants history, or since 1940-something, going back forever.
1949.
Was it 49? Yeah. Okay, there you go, yeah. So there's a lot to build on, but where will that energy be Thursday? How will the Giant fan, and maybe it doesn't matter on Monday, admittedly, but how will the Giant process what's ahead of them on Friday morning? Maybe it's the same.
But
maybe it's more. I don't know.
Do you feel you don't feel any differently coming out of that game in regards to trusting the head coach and quarterback more than what you saw either last year or last week?
No, because I've always had great trust in Daboll, and I've always been a fairly ardent Daniel Jones supporter. I mean, there's the beauty of doing radio. Like, that rant. I mean, all right, some Jet haters going to shove it in my mug. That's fine. Okay, I'll absorb it. I still think they're going to be a playoff team. But also, sometimes it works the other way. It's not like I'm getting on the air today saying, I think Jones could be really good, or he is pretty good after burying him for years. There is film and there are there are stories and there's video of me saying I think Daniel Jones could be really good. I've always believed in Daniel Jones and the quarterback. But I also look at this division. Did you think the Commanders would be 2-0? I know it's easy to dismiss them. In a lot of ways, the Commanders almost have like a Jets identity in some weird way. They're 2-0. We're not surprised that Philly's 2-0. We're not surprised that Dallas is 2-0. If you are a little surprised that the Commanders are 2-0, that shows you how arduous a road to the playoffs I think it's going to be this year for the Giants.
Right, but of those teams, I mean, you could even throw in Jalen Hurts in there, and I understand what he did a year ago. Remember, we had the conversation. I was talking about Daniel Jones being a top 10 quarterback, and some people were laughing me off the air and all that. Well, Daniel Jones yesterday played like an MVP in that second half, and he played the best half of football that we've seen this year from any of those quarterbacks in that division. Dak hasn't done squat this year. Sam Howell is not very good. He's okay. And Jalen Hurts hasn't been great in the first 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah. No, listen, I get it. There's still some rust here, and this is one of the things that we talked a lot about over the summer where – you certainly don't want to put your stars in harm's way. That's the new NFL, or somewhat new. It's been like that for a while, I guess, where you pretty much enter. I know Rodgers played a couple series against the Giants, and we talked about that. Should you do it? Should you not? I'm a believer in chipping away a little rust, in a fairly conservative manner. But the new NFL is, if you can, this applies to the Jets and the Giants and everybody but our teams. If you could just get into the early stage of October and not be dead, you got a chance. So there's the positive outline. And, hey, there's a lot of teams in the NFL right now that wish they were 1-1. Jets and Giants are 1-1.
Yeah, and I guess you got to look at the positives in that regard. Although, to me, the signs would be pointing upward for the Giants and down for the Jets. Not overreacting to the game, but just the circumstance with, of course, Rodgers going down. Ryan is calling from Denver. What's up, Ryan?
Sal, what's up, buddy? BT, how you doing, man?
Hey, Ryan, how you doing, pal?
Good. So I just getting back from Arizona. Was at the game yesterday. Flew down
Nice.
from Denver, and a lot of people aren't talking about it, but the O-line played really, really well yesterday, and with some fill-in guys and these two kids that they got from UNC in the draft last year. McClathan, who's finally come back from the ACL, played out of his mind yesterday for his first NFL start. Izudu played great at left tackle. If they get these guys and they get that Andrew Thomas back, and even if Andrew Thomas, as we all know, is even 85 to 90% healthy, I think the O-line, is going to fix itself and work itself out. But there's no doubt in my mind that Brian Dable, to add on to that, obviously Daniel Jones had a great, second half, but there's no doubt that Brian Dable was calling the plays in the second half. I honestly believe that. We flew back to Denver last night with Mark Schlereth.
And he did deny that, Ryan. He denied calling the plays in the second half and really didn't give you much. I was looking for the one money quote that Dable told the team at halftime, and thank you for the call, Rye. We didn't get it, BT. It was just basically execution. That was it. I mean, that's the only thing Dable said. It was better execution, and whatever he said, he's going to keep that in-house. But he did deny calling the plays in the second half.
He's consistent. When the Giants got waxed against Dallas, I thought he processed it, in the right manner. He didn't light anybody up. He didn't show. Now, he shows emotion on the field, but when he gets that microphone for a guy who is a little bit of a loose wire, kind of like us, yelling and getting red. And I think, when we see Dable on the sideline, I think many of us say to ourselves, if we were NFL coaches, that's kind of how we would look, or that's how we would see ourselves. But when he gets to the microphone, he's polished, doesn't give you much, and he processed it smartly because he didn't bury him after Dallas and he didn't go over the top yesterday. So I think it's a good balance. Listen, Dable's he's a really good coach.
He's like Belichick with fire to him. Like, I'm not saying Bill doesn't care, obviously, but he doesn't show any emotion whatsoever on the sideline. And Dable's the opposite. But then when Dable gets beyond the podium, he's not giving you any answers, which I do respect. Bottom line is they got the results. I don't know what happened. Remember we talked about it, BT, the halftime of the Sunday night game against the Cowboys. I wanted to see. I mean, the game was obviously over, but I wanted to see how the Giants were going to respond at the half. Yeah. And they didn't. So I shut it off and went to bed. Well, this time at the half, it was what I expected to see last time, a completely different team, and they came out and dominated and offensively could not be stopped after the half. David is calling from Westchester. What's up, David?
Hey, guys. So, if we have to lose, if the Jets had to lose one game, I'd much rather lose Dallas than against the Pats this week. And so they're 1-1. And I'm not at all like, they're going to have a layup here. But the schedules in the division are equally hard for Miami and everyone else. So to be sitting at 1-on-1 with Zach, it could be much worse.
Yeah.
I mean, you could be 0-2. Yeah, that would be the only thing worse than 1-1. But BT, the schedule is brutal for the Jets here. They got to get wins.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I think they have to win this game. They've got to win this game for the standings. They've got to win this game for perception. They've got to win this game for locker room continuity. Now, thanks for the call there, David. Like, Sal, I know you saw Breeze. This bothers me. I don't know where young kids think that they have the latitude to do this. Breece Hall is a star. Breece Hall, I think, is as talented as any running back in the game, but he's played about 8 games. And after the game yesterday, he felt that he had the license to get on social media and post 4 football, which he later deleted, 4 football emojis to let the whole world know that he's pissed off because he got 4 touches, which, by the way, he should be. But these young kids and how they air their grievances, it just drives me nuts. It's so...
It should bench his ass for that one. It's selfish. No, I'm serious. It's selfish. And when is it going to get the point? Hey, I'd call him into the office immediately and be like, hey, what was this tweet that you put out there? And then I know what it's about. So you're worried about how many carries you got as opposed to being a teammate? You're benched this week. You're going to get 0 carries this week. We're going Dalvin Cook.
And don't you think – listen, I love it. I mean, that's old school. That's never going to happen, but I'm not mad at you for saying that. I'm in alignment with you. But don't you think – now, this is where we get to Robert Saleh. And whether it was with Rodgers or now without, invariably some turmoil was coming early, right? Because offensive line, quarterback trying to fix Zach Wilson. So now we're going to find out if Robert Saleh can truly coach. Watching the Hard Knocks stuff and the meetings and what he put out there, what they put out there for the public, do you actually envision Robert Saleh doing what you just said he should do? I don't.
I think he's got to do it. I think he's got it in him, but I believe he's afraid to do it, BT.
Well, then that's a problem.
Well, but is he afraid because of today's society, because he doesn't want to take off the owner? Like, if it's me, see, I fully believe you got to be yourself. And if this is not Robert Saleh, that's fine. But if it's me, I don't look at that as one small incident. To me, the bigger picture is this player, who is great, is acting selfishly.
Yep.
We can't have a successful team with selfish individuals. He's worried about how many carries he's got, which, by the way, is disrespectful to the head coach, to the offensive coordinator, to everybody. He's worried about himself as opposed to the team. So for me to send the message to him and everybody else, I don't give a crap what the owner says, what the general manager says. This is what I believe in. And if you don't let me do that, then maybe this isn't the place for me to be coaching.
Yeah, honestly, Bruce, nobody cares what you think about the game plan yesterday. You know, this is just some of the ancillary nonsense that you get with the young modern athlete. And I know he's a good kid, but he messed up. And I'm not trying to, throw him to the wolves here, but I don't have full belief that the message was delivered the way I would do it, or the way some other great coaches would do it now.
What if he did that on the – I mean, we could look at the Giants, but let's just say Patriots. What if he did that with Bill Belichick? What do you think would happen?
He wouldn't do it because there's a tone already. They wouldn't even do it.
But
they wouldn't.
Because they know that there are going to be repercussions for it.
Yes.
He wouldn't have the balls to do it because his ass would either be cut, benched. There would be a big problem. That is the tone you have to establish. Not to be a big, mean guy, but to show you how to be a good teammate. You can't be selfish. And this is the beginning, potentially. Maybe not even the beginning. You talked about it last year with Mike White and, losing that locker room and all that stuff. This is part of the reason why I would prefer an established head coach. Dable, though, is not established, BT, but he established himself in year one. Right out of the gate. This stuff is unacceptable, whether it's poor play on the field, whatever it may be. He's a no-nonsense guy. I wouldn't be messing around with him, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
And Saleh's got that substitute teacher kind of feel to him.
A little bit. I mean, you just mentioned Mike White, and that's, it's funny. That's why I was so bothered and worried by what transpired a year ago. To me, that was a greater look into the culture of the Jets, that a bunch of guys would feel as if they had the freedom to walk on a plane to go play the Vikings wearing a T-shirt of the backup quarterback who's making, not that money's fully relevant here, but $800,000 compared to the young kid who was drafted second overall that the entire future is hinged upon, and Robert Saleh, they felt like that was okay, and they felt like that was okay because the culture sent the message to them saying it is okay, much like Breece Hall's tweet. Yeah, it's not okay.
And it's not just one thing, though, BT. Didn't the running backs do the same thing? I think it was when Zeke Elliott was potentially coming in for a visit, and they're like, we don't need him here.
Yes.
And even guys taking shots at Zach Wilson last year publicly, Wilson himself not taking accountability. That to me is a reflection on, if it's not the general manager, it is a direct reflection on the head coach. Who's teaching these kids how to be adults and to be selfless? You can't have a good team like that. So, again, it's not the biggest issue in the world, but it's a problem, and it's something that the Jets have had issues with.